and you're not gonna edit any of this, so that's our intro.
Okay.
Froning and Friends, episode 1. We have Elly Kabboord-Kearcher. Are we going Kabboord? Have you figured out your name?
Cardboard.
Yeah, any of the above. Karcher.
What is your legal?
Full
legal name.
on my driver's license it says Elly. Well, you really gotta know my real name.
Eleanor.
Eleanor Kabboord-Kearcher.
Jim,
Like
what's
that.
your full name?
Full name, James Dean Hensel.
James Dean.
That is
man.
a great name.
We have James Dean with us.
I'm here.
Can we call you that from now on?
Yes, you can.
Perfect.
Danner, your turn.
Danner.
On my license, I believe it's Darren Thomas Hunsucker. That's
Darren Thomas
Hunsucker with
Hunsucker.
an H, Sucker with an S.
Lakeland calls him Danner, so
Danner.
his name is forever Danner. Cool. Episode 1. Elly. Everybody knows Elly. She's competed with us the last 3 years now. We can't get rid of her. She just keeps coming back every single day. Jim, you've been hanging out with us you've been going to Mayhem for a year and a half now, year?
Man, no, 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 years. Since the old spot. Old spot. And
Yeah.
then Jim, we've all started kind of working with. He has a program, Strength and Honor, and culture coach is what we're rolling with. We're gonna make it. We've all kind of done the program, and it's a pretty cool thing. We got some cool things coming out in the future with Jim, so we'll talk more about that while we're on here at some point, I'm sure.
Right on.
So Jim's here with us, and then you got Danner.
Danner.
My cousin. I don't really.
That's about it.
The
Yeah.
most decorated coach in history.
Most
Yeah.
decorated CrossFit coach in history. That's true. Did we figure out how many medals you have total? It was a lot. We'll come back with the
Yeah,
total
I'll
one
say.
day.
I'll go back to my Hall of Fame and
Karen's
count.
been head coach for us for 5 years since we've been open.
Yeah.
Coached with us before that. Was one of the original founding members of CrossFit Mayhem. And all around good dude.
Just trying to be a good dude.
And so that's what we got for today. Admittedly, this is we were talking about this before, and we were going to save it. I've never once listened to a podcast, so
Welcome.
So welcome. Yeah, I've been on 2 or 3 or 4 Barbell Shrugged episodes, but I've never actually listened to any of those. Sorry, guys. We're just going to kind of roll with it, have some fun. We may talk about CrossFit some. We may not talk about CrossFit whatsoever. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, Jim listens to a lot, and Elly listens to a ton because she tells us all about it.
We hear 'em all the time.
I listen to him every
day.
morning.
And about the caveman with your arms behind you.
What do you think the first thing you look at when someone approaches you? The very first thing you see, is it eyes, face, nose? What is it? The first thing
Nose.
you think you see when you look at people?
Nah. I look at what shirt they're wearing. No, I'm just kidding.
I honestly do not know.
What do you think? I mean, I'm going to say for guys, it's probably the obvious thing, but I'm not going to say that.
Their eyes.
Perfect,
Obviously,
yeah,
looking
okay,
at
yeah.
their personality.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
I say no.
Nothing?
I say no.
This is an equal opportunity podcast.
I know. I'm just
Who's
being
judging
honest
us here?
here. So, in reality, the first thing, and it goes back to cavemen.
Go back to caveman.
No.
Did they-
And Rich doesn't believe this, is your hands, because if in cavemen, he doesn't think that cavemen freaked out. But if you walk up to somebody and their hands are behind their back, you either flee or go hit them with a club.
What? Okay.
It makes you uncomfortable because you don't know what's behind my back.
Did you
Is
watch-
this making you uncomfortable?
Did you watch this on like Cavemen Weekly or something?
That's what I'm
No,
saying.
I'm
Did she
saying-
go back? Did
Yeah.
they go back and interview a
Yeah.
caveman?
No, but
they're
it's over time. You can't help it. I guarantee. If I sit like this long enough, you're going to feel uncomfortable.
You creep me out anyway. You don't
I
have
had
to
to live through this conversation once already.
I know, right? And so that's,
Because it's real life.
I walked out on that conversation. You remember?
Yeah.
If you
Remember when
walked
she
at
said,
somebody with your
I
hands
could
behind
have
your
a
back,
saber?
Think
I could
about
have
it.
my back?
Yes.
She did. She said if I had a saber behind my back.
Yeah,
Okay,
saber.
think
Luke
about it.
You know what a
Skywalker
saber
walks
is?
into the gym.
It's like some large
Exact.
weapon. It's sharp. A knife. I think of a pirate when I think of a saber, but I don't know if that's real.
You holding a saber is very disturbing.
No, but think of it like this. So if you're walking the streets in New York at night, I don't know why I picked New York.
With a saber.
With a saber.
With a
no.
saber.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to run away.
And you've got a saber hitched to your side, but the person approaching you has their hands behind their back. Are you gonna look and question what's behind their back? You're not gonna feel comfortable. That's uncomfortable.
I don't know.
You don't know what's back there.
I don't know, because if I'm in a Star Wars film, then I feel like, do I just hop in a ship and go, or
This is. I'm
Millennium
serious.
Falcon.
You know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna keep my arms behind my back and just stress you guys out from now on.
How many times have you seen somebody walking down the street with a saber, though?
Or with their hands behind their back.
Well,
Yeah.
so you want to know something else?
Unless you're at parade rest.
So I was reading all these, the psychology books and the.
Right.
Were you reading it or were you listening to it on?
Why does that matter?
Because you said I was reading to it.
Okay, I'm
reading
sorry.
It.
I was listening to it on
Clarify that.
on Audible, and
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
I'm just make sure you're
accurate in my facts.
correct.
I can't guarantee that, but I'll try.
That sounds about right.
Anyway, so it's this FBI book, whatever, and they say
You said it's a psychology book.
yeah, but it is psychology, but it's
Okay.
written by a guy who's in the FBI who says like this is how you read people in body language.
Okay.
And
This is gonna be good.
I've told you guys this one. I think.
know.
I haven't heard it. I'm waiting.
Jim. I'm
Okay,
excited
let
to
me
hear your.
let me hear your interpretation of this. So I'm going to give you two scenarios. You tell me which one looks more guilty or more normal. Let's say which one you wouldn't think twice about, and which one you would think twice about. Okay, so there's a man walking down the road, and we're going to go back to New York City.
Okay.
And one man,
What street?
I don't know what Fifth Avenue is that.
For some reason, I thought she was going to say Fifth Avenue.
know,
I don't know what popped in my
I
head.
don't because
Go ahead.
all I know is the Fifth Avenue mile. There's a race
I
there.
honestly don't know much about New York City. I've been there a couple times, but not like where the bad streets are.
I was
Sorry.
thinking of Times Square.
Proceed.
Well, this isn't
pretty lit.
this isn't necessarily a bad street.
Oh,
anyway,
Okay, he's just on a street.
it's just a
Just a
regular
man.
street during the day. Doesn't even have to be.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and one man is just walking straight forward with purpose.
Okay.
Situation B. A man leaning against, we're going to just make it a brick wall like this. Which man
Arm up
is
for the people I can't see.
against the wall? Which situation is more normal? Or less suspicious? Suspicious is the word I was looking for.
The guy walking down the street's less suspicious.
Yeah, I wouldn't really even think about that, though,
But
at all in
okay.
any kind of a way. But I guess the guy going down the street is doing something, and the other guy is
Right.
standing there.
Post it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So Rich is,
Well, posted
correct
up.
in this situation that if someone's walking down the street with purpose, that's normal. However, like if they see someone leaning against the wall, then they probably have
Let me step in here
motives.
and reverse it back to you. What about the two people that are minding their own business, seeing this lady staring at them awkwardly, thinking that they're going to do something? What looks more suspicious to you? The two guys minding their own,
With her hand-
or the lady sweating her?
If he's leaning against a brick wall by my establishment, and I've been trained in the art of
Art of FBI
suspicious,
psychology book.
yeah, then
Jedi.
I'm gonna walk out there and be like, assuming his arms aren't behind his back, because he could have a saber.
I was going to say.
Yeah, you gotta always watch
I'm
that.
gonna go back there and say,
Lightsaber or regular saber?
Or a lifesaver.
I would like a lightsaber. He can have a regular saber because you can pick the color.
Wow.
Not the fact that it's
What was
probably
the
more
point?
dangerous.
What was the point? What was the point?
You're learning cues about people.
Oh.
Oh,
like-
Situational awareness.
Yes, exactly.
I just feel like that's called paranoia.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at everything around you, worried about like what's about to happen or that something could happen, aren't you pretty paranoid there?
That's true. But
Especially in New York City. I don't think you're noticing that.
In
Yeah.
the middle of the day, you're
Yeah.
just walking. All you're going to do is maybe walk a foot farther away from the guy leaning on the wall.
well, okay. So can I give you something applicable to like our day-to-day life?
Applicable, yes.
Okay. So here's another scenario.
We're in the barn.
Okay, we're in the barn.
Lakeland walks in wielding a saber.
Saber. Hiding it.
Run away.
Screaming.
Run away. Because she
That's
will hit you
really,
with it.
yeah, she for sure. Okay, so if you're talking to someone in the barn and their feet are pointed away from you, that means they don't really want to talk to you or they have somewhere to be.
So that's me.
At all times, your feet are always the opposite direction, looking over like slowly. But that's the same. Like, so Darren, if you're coaching somebody and you're trying to give them
I'm
cues,
actually duck-footed, so I don't want to talk about that.
if someone's feet are pointed away from you, like towards the exit specifically, it's like towards the door. That means they either have somewhere
Means
to be.
beat it, nerd. They
Yeah.
don't want to listen to your coaching.
They're just trying to be polite, but they really
Well, when I
want to
talk
leave.
to somebody, I usually don't approach them from behind. I usually like to face them, so I may walk around them and say, "Hey."
Jim, do you agree with this?
Listen, have you ever tried to talk to somebody, though, and you get in front of them, and they're so nervous that they turn as you're trying to talk to them,
Oh,
and
so
you have
they're
to try to
ready to-
catch up with them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, come back here.
Yeah.
It's like a twitch.
Come back here.
Hey, look at me.
Like you
Look
start
at
right
me.
in front of them, and you're coaching, you're talking, you're doing something, they start to get nervous, and their body turns, and you got to kind of go with them. And
Doing circles.
That happens to Elly a lot.
Yeah.
I was gonna say every time I talk to you, you start turning
trying
the
to
other
walk away.
direction.
well, when we were having the yoga conversation the other day,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
where does yoga come from? And we were doing planks.
Yeah.
You turned your back hardcore and walked away.
Shocking. That's
I-
so weird.
If she says something that I don't agree with, I walk away.
It's like that Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going and
or
going
just
and going.
tell me. You always just tell me. It's not necessarily.
But that usually doesn't stop you.
You're right. It's
9
fine.
times
I
out
don't
of
even
10.
think you hear that. Like, hey, Elly, we don't care. And it's just, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? You want to know
So
where
what
we
you're
don't
trying
care
to say
came
is you want
from?
me to keep giving you situations.
She
Okay.
actually wrote the word, remember?
And, yeah.
The phonetic
Yeah,
pronunciation
of
of
how to say side plank, because they didn't believe that it originated from yoga.
No.
For me, it did not originate in yoga. I was just like,
When did yoga originate?
Oh, it's like 10,000 years ago.
Like caveman?
Yeah.
I see it. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine.
And
They
the
didn't
sabers.
think
Yeah.
it was yoga, so I wrote it out for them in Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She really did.
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
And then we worked out.
And
then we
then there
worked
was a lot of exercise.
Yeah.
And I'm not better for it either, by the way.
No.
I learned nothing.
You learned nothing?
Learned nothing.
You learned that yoga's written in Sanskrit. You learned
Nothing that moved my life forward.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I feel
No,
like some of the
for sure.
the situational awareness stuff that you told me about makes me paranoid in church. When I go home, when I see my dog, when I see my wife, when I coach kids.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like a kid has a saber behind his back, like when he comes
Good.
walking.
And now he's safer for it.
Or anybody
Not when
that's
I give
leaning
him
on
a
a
black
wall.
eye or something.
It doesn't mean punch the kid in the face.
If he has a saber, I don't want to die.
It's true. Valid point.
You've seen the movies.
Unbelievable.
Anybody who's leaning on a wall is now plotting.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll bring
Always.
you some more later.
Okay.
Let me think about
you
it.
listen to audiobooks every day.
I do.
Written by some guy in the FBI.
Or some guy
Joe
that was a
Navarro has
caveman.
great books.
The guy that was a caveman wrote that first one.
Right. And it was handed down generation
That
after
was
generation.
Vanessa Van Edwards gave me that fact.
Vanessa Van Edwards. And what was that lady that you... No. What's the one podcast you listen to a lot of? The guy that you want to do the team
Oh my
series
gosh.
with if you're listening to this?
The School of Greatness.
There you
That's
go.
the one I start my day with every day.
The
Lewis
School
Howes.
of Greatness.
It is so incredible. I am
Talk
better
about
for that
spending all day
podcast.
coming up with a name.
It's
School of Greatness.
It's fantastic. Anyway, every day, like,
Haven't
it's
heard that
super
one.
cool.
What,
I mean-
what was it today? What was his takeaway?
I actually didn't listen to him today. I listened to someone else today.
It's the greatest thing ever.
Nothing.
I'm trying to think of the last one I listened to.
I thought you said every day.
I do listen to one every day, but I listened to a different one this morning.
So what did you listen to yesterday?
That one that I was telling you
So
about.
you didn't listen to School of Greatness
Justin
yesterday?
Bieber.
No. School of Greatness was the one I was
Justin
listening to
Bieber.
yesterday with
What was
that.
the one? What was that?
That was, well, I mean, my biggest takeaway from that one was it says he was interviewing a pastor whose father passed away, and it was just like a really challenging situation for him. And he was sitting by his bedside, and he thought to himself, you know, like in the Bible, it says, honor your father and your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he didn't have a great relationship with his dad at all times. And he said, you know, I'm here and it doesn't matter what's happened between us. It's my job to be here and support him and be with him in his last days, no matter what. And I was like, that's huge. That's powerful. Like, so many people have hard relationships with their parents. Like, no one, and even if it looks perfect, it more than likely isn't. So to me, that just really resonated because at the end of the day, like, you know, honor your father and your mother. Like, you know, that's where you came from. And it might have been a hard road. It might have been an easy road. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're part of that legacy. So supporting them, I think, before they take
So
that
we
journey.
talked about this
Yeah.
the other day, and that's where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Elly just killed the mood of this
Yeah,
podcast.
I was gonna say. What if my father and mother are plotting or whatever?
What if they against the wall?
What if they have sabers?
What if they have? I'm
Avid
trying to think of a
collection of
fun one I
sabers.
learned.
On a positive note, today's episode is brought to you by Dan Bailey's lane marker from. Oh, this is 2017.
Oh,
How did we get this one?
I don't know. I really.
For those who can't see
yeah.
this, we have a Dan Bailey.
Your dad probably
lane
took
marker.
it.
Yeah, Dad stole it.
He's getting old.
I figured it was like a 2012 one because we have a bunch of Dan stuff from when he lived here. If you're listening to this, Dan, all your stuff, we're still here.
We miss
It's
you.
still here.
Just come home.
Come say hi.
Yeah. Well, you know.
It's the off season. He could come visit. I mean,
Yeah. He could.
We'll get Dan as a guest one day.
Yeah, he's
See.
in Houston right now, isn't he?
No, I think he's back in
Is he
Columbus.
back?
He's working at Rogue now.
Gosh. Old Dan.
So off season, right?
Off season.
So they say.
Starting to dial it up now. Yeah.
Yeah,
2 weeks from now. 3
Yeah.
weeks from now.
October-ish. October is just kind of when it's like, all right, it's time to
get back in the groove.
Time to get back into it. We've been swimming some, not as much.
Yeah.
Start hitting that back, Darren. You have fun with that.
Yeah.
I saw his Instagram post the other day. One word.
Hell. This is awful.
And it scanned the pool.
I hate swimming. Something that's meant to be fun is just ruined, just by trying to make it like competitive.
I feel like if they had a diving board, you know,
something you could do
get out of the
flips
water, jump off the diving board.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I think you would have hit your face on the water though in Madison.
Yeah.
Like I said, that first event, I got in the water. We were middle to late in the pack at that point.
Oh, we were like
And dove in and swimming a little bit, and I look out about halfway, 3/4 of the way to the first buoy, and there were people still wading up to their chest. And I was like, what the heck is going on?
You know,
I didn't realize how shallow
that
it was.
really does upset me that everybody knew it was that shallow except me. I was out there having panic attacks, and all I wanted to do was put my feet down, but I'm like, I'll drown.
Did you go to backstroke? Son?
I went backstroke, side stroke, breaststroke. I made up strokes.
Stroke.
Did you go,
I kicked straight
did you doggy
down.
paddle any?
I dog paddled. I swam like a bulldog for half the way.
How was that second run after that?
It was the worst experience of my life after that. Like running was something I never thought that I would have a lot of trouble with.
Yeah.
I mean, just because it was something I did a lot of.
Darren's a very good runner.
And when you add in swimming, I guess that's just the perfect mixture to like that's like my kryptonite for like running is swimming into a run.
Did you hear what Henshaw told Matt?
He said, well, what did he say?
Matt said he
him
got
like,
out of the water and he's holding the rope and he's got your shoes and stuff ready, and Henshaw yells at him. He says, "Hey, I want you to drag him. Drag him like a dog."
What was
That's
even
so
better
awesome.
was he probably said that as soon as Matt got out and didn't realize I was still 2 minutes behind. So Matt had 2 minutes to soak that in.
to collect himself?
To collect himself and gather. Matt did drag me like a dog the whole way. He dragged me. It was pretty impressive, actually.
It was a little unnerving, being the third wheel on that event with me and Elly, just because you're like, all right, they're coming back. Because Matt and Darren are both good runners. I was like, all right, we're going to be all right. And I knew Darren, he'd put in a lot of work swimming. And I was like, all right, they're going to be,
Right.
top 10. Top 10 comes in and everybody's leaving. And you're like, all right, they're 11th. Okay, 15th. I don't even know where were you going.
I think it was like 20th or 22nd. I don't know if we were higher than that.
There
but it
weren't
was
many
bad.
people left.
Yeah, it was bad.
That's all I remember. And you literally have 30 minutes. We had an hour to kind of warm up and get ready because each section took 30 minutes. It was, and they didn't have any video footage of it, so you couldn't see where anybody was. It was not a pleasant experience.
As a member at the gym, and you've coached a lot in the classes that I've been in. That's the first time that I've really seen you like that tired.
Believe me,
you were
how I
pain-faced.
looked and what was going on the inside were completely different. I did everything it took in my will to hold myself together because I'm like, there's cameras because it's Rich's team, so I know somebody's watching me. And Hewitt and I, there's that tunnel or that bridge that you run under.
Yeah.
I tried to tell him, but I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. I was gonna tell him to stop so I could throw up, but every time I would go to say it, I would start throwing up, and so the tunnel got over. And I'm like, well, there's
dead.
my chance.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, I am done for now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But you regrouped and then
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
great.
you were great.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
Yeah, he did great. Yeah, we I'm not gonna say I wasn't worried after that first event. I was like, all right, here we go. And then
I was worried.
we end up finishing fourth in that, third, fourth.
Well, you guys kind of brought it home.
Yeah, luckily Elly just kind of pulled me along on the run. She's a very good runner, and then I hadn't really ran leading up to the games that much. And then we crushed the swim, and then the second run, we got into the water. I think we were mid-pack 15th or something like that, maybe a little lower. I think Kristen and Lindy did a good job of
they did a good job
making up some
catching
ground
up.
too. But we got through the swim, and there was one team that was literally just 2 feet behind us the whole time on the first part of the run. And finally, I was like, they're gonna pace us and then pass us at the end and push us too hard. So I was like, just let them pass, and if anything, we can stay with them. But they end up taking off. So there was a few times Elly was like, all right, we can go a little faster. And I was like, nah, I'm good here. And I mean, there was no teams really close to us behind us, so there was no need to really push the envelope there. But
we passed so many bodies in the water.
We did
to
pass
the
a
first
lot of
buoy,
bodies
it
in the
was
water.
like, wow, a herd. There's another herd.
Yeah. So, and people were like, too, it was like, so I go straight to the buoy and the over. People were like, almost like they felt like they were like going to carry some speed around the buoy or something.
Hinshaw's buoy turn, though, like that is awesome.
I used it twice, yeah.
Me too.
I grabbed the buoy, like hugged it, and I just like rolled around it. Because actually, when I got to the buoy, there were like 3 people hanging on it. And I'm like, do I want to be one of the people that just sit like with them?
It's not super stable. I don't know. I feel like I'd feel like less safe.
I don't even feel like you grabbed the thing?
It's like I grabbed it and just like moved it.
Pillow thing.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. No. That event was more fun than I thought it was going to be, because that was the one I was worried about, but that one wasn't fun. What other event? Well, I mean, just a little backstory at regionals. There was a couple events where we kind of. It was Darren's first competition experience
in a long time.
Really,
in a long time.
And, we'd kind of hyped that first event, him and Lindy, and he went a little too hard on his handstand push-ups and started failing handstands. And I was like, oh no, he did great. We ended up winning that event, and then there was the event where him and Hewitt were bar muscle up.
Yeah,
and then Darren misses a bar muscle up. They went it was the bike bar muscle up.
No, it was a
wall ball.
Bike wall ball bar muscle up and then row. And Darren and Matt were the only people left on the bikes.
Yeah.
In that first part, it was like, what was it, 20 calories a piece or something like that? It was
20 calories a piece, and most teams got done in 40 seconds.
Yeah, literally, the 417 guys got done before Darren and Matt got off the bike.
Before one.
Yeah, before Matt.
It was like 2 people got off before one, and we were like, okay, they're just good bikers.
So luckily, Darren and Matt crushed the wall balls. Well, then they got to the bar muscle ups,
and we're
crushed. They've done like sets of 20 easy, and so.
We got to 16.
16, and Darren failed. Yeah. And I was like, oh, here we go. And then they get up there, and Hewitt fails.
That was really weird from the sidelines to be watching that. Yeah. You're kind of like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, what happened?
What are we doing here?
And then,
is this the plan?
Yeah. Then the same thing happened to Lindy and Kristen. I think Lindy started kind of pushing the upper limits and failed a couple bar muscle ups, and I was like, oh, here we go. Made it through fine. Well, then the event where it was the 3 guys, we went the chest to bar, toe to bar, overhead squat. We had this plan. It was like you were going to do 45.
Yeah.
I think 45 chest to bar. I was going to do 40, and then he was going to do 35.
Yeah.
So he would be relatively fresh.
So get through it in just like one set.
One swipe.
Yeah.
Well, so on rep 38, Darren goes from butterfly chest to bars to stopping to doing kipping chest to bar. And I was like, what are you doing? Get down. And so finally he gets down. So I do my 40. Hewitt does, I think, 40 or something like that.
Yeah.
And did you have to get up and do a couple more?
Yeah, I got up and did. I think there was 5 or 10 more.
Doing him kipping. And I was like, what's going on? Well, then we get to the toes to bar. He did 2 toes to bar. One of them was a no rep.
2 toes, yeah.
Out of those 100. Yeah. Luckily, Hewitt is the
king.
The king of toes to bar.
He went
until
failure.
And then he couldn't, and so it was just a mess. And Darren, luckily, could use his other arm for the overhead squats, so he was fine. But come to find out, he pinched a nerve or did something to his shoulder.
Stupid.
Basically,
made up injury.
No feeling in his shoulder. So when we got to the games in that first event, I was like, here we go again.
Yeah.
But he crushed everything else after that.
Except
for I couldn't get him to go to the front of the worm. On the,
now this is the best story.
Yeah. So.
And your line. This is the best story.
I'll give you the story on the. So it's the worm and row workout.
Yeah.
And so it was 40 cal row as a team, 30 worm squats as a team with the heavy worm, and then 3 rounds. And so we get the first round done. It crushes my soul. That worm, the heavy worm, and being in the front crushed my soul. And so I get to we do the second row, and I look at Hewitt, and I'm like, you go to the front of the worm, and he's not happy about it. But he does it because Matt's a great squatter.
Yeah.
So he goes to the front of the worm. Middle of the worm felt awesome. I was like, this is awesome. I could do this all day. So I get back to the row, and then I was like, I don't want to get on the front of the worm and have to drop it. So I look at Darren because I was like, he's relatively fresh, probably being in the back of the worm. He'll be all right. So I look at Darren, and I wish people could see the face I'm about to make because I looked at Darren, and I was like, Darren, can you take the front? And he goes,
just shake
his
head, eyes
like,
wide
nope.
open, and I was like, son of a gun.
Deer
so
in headlights.
I go to the front of the worm, and finished, and like the last 5 squats were max effort squats, and we finished, and everybody's like, "Is Rich okay?" Like he's, you know, I was like, "Yeah, just like I got so many texts, like, are you okay, or is something wrong?" And I was like, because my legs were buckling, and backstory, nobody really knows as much, but I tore my meniscus the week before regionals, and so I hadn't been doing a ton of squatting. I'm trying to be smart with it before that, and so that played a little bit into that. Just not, my legs weren't quite as in shape as they usually are.
That workout sucked.
And that workout was just hard.
That workout sucked.
Terrible. And so I'm getting all kind of texts like, "You okay? Did you hurt yourself? Did you tear something? Blah, blah, blah." And then your comment. What was your brain? What was going on in your head?
I mean, as soon as Rich looked at me and kind of gave me that little nod, saying, "Hey, go to the front of the worm," in my head it all flashed so fast. I'm like, the most decorative CrossFitter of all time is telling me to go to the front, and he's about to fail. I'm like, I am not going to the front of that worm.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, if the strongest guy in this game cannot do it, I can't do it.
I never heard that part of it.
Yeah. Well, we did
that was
make
all
you go.
within a second. That all flashed. I'm like, no, I can't.
We did make you go to the front of the worm on the final event, though.
And I failed miserably.
You didn't fail.
You didn't fail. You were just, your timing was off a little bit from everybody else.
I didn't understand.
Darren, we're telling all these stories, but you did an incredible job.
Darren did a
and
great
you stepped
job.
up. I mean, you did overhead dumbbell squats with one arm pinched.
Because they were one arm.
But I mean, the whole weekend, you did awesome things both times.
Clean, didn't you? Just missed the jerk.
Yeah.
316.
I mean, you stepped up. You were fantastic.
No,
we're laughing about these things, but I mean, recognizing
they
you
are
did
funny.
great.
And then we're all warming up for the snatches and muscle ups, and we're all missing snatches. I was like, this is going to be a crap shoot.
All missing like crazy.
You guys did great. No, that was it was just funny that it was like that let over, and then that first event at the games, and I was like, all right, here we go. And then every event after that crushed it. So it was fun.
And I think that's one of the cool things about being on the team like that we have is people can adapt pretty quickly. I mean, everybody always has a plan A, but no one has that plan B, C, D, all that, because every time we work out, plan A never happens.
Ever.
And, even it seems like panic, but it's really not panic. It's just, it's controlled chaos.
Yeah, that's true.
From a fan's perspective, being in the gym and watching you guys, the attitude that you guys approach everything to, there's not a lot of emotion. We're going to work hard. And it's always fun to hear the backstories.
Yeah.
Because you don't really realize, because from the outside, it looks like we're just going to go to work. Oh, there's a problem. We fix it. We keep going.
Right.
We're moving at high speed. So it's always fun to hear what you guys have to say or what's going on inside your mind.
Right.
So from an outsider perspective, say you're watching games or regionals, because obviously we can't really see all the other teams and whatnot. In what you're seeing, the first part of the question is, do you see when the small chaos happens on our team, and do other teams, do you see chaotic events go down, or not really? We don't really see it as much, I guess.
It's been really fun for me to get to kind of be around you guys kind of on the inside a little bit, and to see you train and then see what happens when the competition comes on. And I think it just doesn't sound sexy, but you guys just outwork people. Right. There's just a whole lot of hard work. And sometimes when people are asking all kinds of questions and want to know what the secret is and all that, they don't really get that we just do a whole bunch more work than everybody else.
Right.
It is crazy to see things be disjointed with you guys, though. And I can remember being in the stands at regionals with my wife and literally what's going on? What are they doing? What the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
What's going on? What are we doing? Get on the worm.
What are we doing?
Why are they missing?
And you kind of get this I don't know, expectation that there's not going to be a mistake, right? Because it's usually pretty smooth.
Even,
pretty clean cut.
I mean, my wife literally ribbed me really hard, and I was like, hey, calm down.
They're okay.
Because, everything was a little disjointed, and then you kind of regroup. And
I wish you had some comment. I wish we had some type of microphone that you could have on, because
field cam.
Sometimes it doesn't look as calm as the bar muscle up GHD bike deadlift workout. I was looking at Hewitt losing my mind, because we were so far behind on the bar muscle ups and the GHDs that I was just like, what is going on? Why are we so far behind? And we end up getting second in that event. But I think me and Hewitt, everybody was done on their muscle ups by the time we got to the bar muscle ups. You guys
made up so much time, though.
Losing my mind. And Hewitt usually I'm the one that has to calm Hewitt down. Hewitt's like, it's all right. We're going to be fine. We're going to do those GHDs. We're going to smash it.
Mode.
Right.
And so Hewitt,
Didn't you count the reps of like how far behind you were? Like you guys made a ton of ground on that event.
We were like 40-something reps behind whatever team.
You're mad back there counting 1,
I was
2.
I was losing my mind. And that was like one of the times where I was like, all right, you got to calm down. And luckily Hewitt was there. Was like, we're going to be all right. We're just going to move. Just do what we do. And luckily me and Hewitt are pretty decent and fast at GHDs, so that's where we really caught people.
I think it's for that experience, and you guys have done it so much. And
yeah, but it's still, I mean, there's still times when you even though we've experienced so much, you're like, you don't know what those other teams are capable of, or other individuals even, and so you're like, man, are they gonna blow up, or are they, are they gonna keep this going? That was, that was the case with Wasatch this year. There was no team to really get in between us after the first couple days. That it was just, us and them back and forth in first and second. So
if we won, they took second. If we lost, they took first. It was,
no one else in the mix for points.
Not really. In the first couple days, there was, we were not getting first and second on every event, and then some of those, toss-up events like the sled push and pull, when it's so close, it's just like, what it is. But
a second is the difference between first and 20th.
Yeah.
So, that's just kind of there's our games recap, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's our first time we've been on talked about.
The event that looked the most uncomfortable was the straw bale.
Oh,
that
goodness.
Going over that.
That was actually, that was a pretty fun event. I mean,
it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
You got to lay down a little bit.
Yeah, I got to lay down. I mean, it was fast, and I think it's the fact of, like, it's, everybody's working at once, and, like, the girls kind of disappear, so, like, you're thinking, where are they? Are we almost, are we going to be done, like, when they get back? So, like, you're trying to move as fast as you can, but you're trying not to overdo your move.
Right.
There are a lot of moving parts in that.
I mean, like, Refit after that was the...
I've never seen her like that.
I've never seen somebody push that hard. Well, I shouldn't say Ref, because Refit has pushed that hard in some other times. Yeah. But she has the best, like, face at the end of a miserable workout.
Her and Hewitt have probably the best. Hewitt's, happy Huey face.
It's so funny.
That event, that was fun.
Yeah.
What was the deal at the end? When you were running and you had the chip on your leg, and it was exciting.
So I had the chip. Adrian Conway had the chip as well, and as we're coming over the first 2 bales, I was thinking in my head, we all have to cross together. I have to be the one that finishes behind. As I'm crossing, the judge kind of says, chip timer, or whatever. He mentioned something. Lindy was like, go. Lindy said, go. You're the chip timer. And so I was just kind of like, I didn't even question it. And so I just kind of took off and wasn't really worried. Because usually most events they tell us whoever has the chip timer has to kind of finish in the back. But that particular event, they were like, just go. So
that was awesome.
Just took off over some hay bales or straw bales. Straw bales. They're not hay bales.
Correction.
Well, it was definitely a highlight. That was exciting.
Yeah.
What did you think about the venue? I've never got to go to California, so
it was cool. It was different. What was kind of cool about Madison as a whole was it kind of shut down, and it was CrossFit. In LA, it's so big that you're just kind of a drop in the bucket, and it's not quite a big deal. We have the fans and stuff are great out there in California, and that's a vacation spot. It's where people want to go for vacation, which is kind of cool. And there's a lot more outdoor events and venues and stuff like that, which I kind of liked being inside because I get so hot and sweat so much that it was kind of pleasant to be in the AC a lot. And it was cooler on the days that we were actually outside, which was kind of pleasant. But I thought as a whole, the venue was really, really cool, really nice, and looking forward to the next 2 years to see how much better they can make. Every year they
from
make
a
it
fan
better.
perspective, it was awesome for us because to be able to get to everything quick, to have the inside, to get to go in the Coliseum, have your own seat. Yeah, we got to see everything and get back and forth, and it was comfortable.
I think one of the things I didn't like, and they may. They tried to have everything going on at the same point. So you had masters going on at the same point as teams, as teens, as individuals. And it was kind of, from what I heard, it was hard to get from one event to the other at the same when events were going on. And so that was kind of tough. But
we never got to see like Angelo because it was always competing at the same time as
us,
an individual event or the team event. Yeah.
So that's kind of, I get that they want to have something going on at all times, which is cool, but it's kind of tough to, pick, prioritize. I think you start stealing fans from different events, so it makes it tough.
I thought it was cool how Madison itself actually kind of embrace the whole CrossFit like community. You go to the hotels, the restaurants, you see welcome CrossFit, you know, and see all this stuff. I thought that was pretty cool that, you know, everybody knew that it was coming, everybody was ready for it. And even going around Madison, I've never been, you know, never really even seen a picture of Madison. The downtown area, the city itself was really cool.
It was really awesome.
You ate a lot of cheese curds. Oh my gosh. Like every day. Oh.
I was getting coffee one morning in a little coffee shop and had some CrossFit shirt or something, and some guy, maybe in his 60s, came up to me and he goes, how you introduced himself? He said, I'm the guy responsible for bringing the games here to Madison.
Oh, wow.
And he just started telling me some big story, and
that's interesting.
I was like, okay, well, it's nice to meet you. I don't know what his name was, but
that's cool.
Part of the city council
cool.
or something.
Nice of him to introduce himself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Madison. I got to meet Lou Holtz, so it was pretty cool.
Unbelievable. I can't believe you met Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Did
cool.
you say anything much to him, or was it just
I got to talk to him a little bit. I mean, he was obviously going somewhere else, but he was not, like, he didn't have his feet turned.
Yeah, I was going to say.
he wasn't trying to walk away.
He was
wasn't
holding
trying
a
to walk
saber.
So he
but he
actually
did have his hands behind his back.
Well,
oh, man.
No, I'm just kidding. He didn't.
Minus the saber.
But he was very, very polite, very, you know, kind of interested in what was going on. And I don't know what he was doing there. My guess is he was speaking, because that's what he does a lot of. And then Notre Dame and Wisconsin, I think, have a home and away series coming up. So I don't know if I have no idea if he was promoting that or what it was, but very nice. You know, was kind of asking questions and asked me if I was ready for the weekend. And
That's awesome.
Did he know who you were?
They'd kind of explained who I was, because I guess he was walking by and asked what was going on, because it was athlete dinner, and one of the guys that are from HQ was like, you know, it's CrossFit Games. He's like, oh, that's cool. He's like one of the guys that has won it a couple of times, is a huge Notre Dame fan. He's like, I'd like to meet him. So I looked up, they kind of yelled, and I was sitting at the bottom of the stairs. I looked up and I was like, that's Lou Holtz. And so I just run up there and shook his hand, and it was pretty cool. So real cool, because my grandpa, but for those, everybody's going to ask, why am I a Notre Dame fan? Because I get that all the time, and I don't know if I've ever actually explained it, but my grandpa went to Notre Dame on my dad's side. He was an engineer there, or engineering degree there. And then my mom's side is Catholic and Irish, so you have to be a Notre Dame fan. And so our other half of the side of the family that Darren is on, it's like half are Notre Dame, and then the other half are split between Michigan and Michigan State.
Yeah.
So you're a Michigan guy,
I'm
right?
a Michigan guy. I am. I'm a
Wolverine?
Yep. Yeah, no, God, no, not a State fan. Jeez. My wife
so
is.
His wife is. So it's
been the hardest part of our marriage. is when college football season rolls.
The blocked punt was the greatest.
Oh my gosh.
They were both. You and
Yes,
Kyle
so
were
please
there,
tell that story. That's like one of my highlights of watching football.
Was it?
I
2
get
years ago or
anxiety
3 years
thinking
ago?
about it.
2 years ago or 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So we're sitting at the house watching
Oh
the
my
Michigan
gosh.
State game. It's Darren and Jess, Elly and Kyle, and I don't think Hillary was home. I think it was just me.
Yeah,
and
there's some
a
other
couple
people
more,
there.
yeah.
some other people there, but we were like, all right, we're gonna watch that game, and then I think Notre Dame was playing USC or something after that, so we were kind of had everybody over, and Darren and Jess are just kind of playful banter back and forth.
Yeah, we
the whole
can't even sit
time.
by each other.
Like one was on this side of the room, one was on this side of the
Michigan
room.
had pretty much led most of the game, and it was a relatively close. Obviously, it was a close game, but Darren's like, oh yeah, you know, because it was over. The game was over. And he's like, oh, he's gonna block this punt, and Michigan State's gonna return it. And, you know, they're gonna like just being a jerk, like kind of like serious, kind of like. He was kind of playing it
I was
down.
trying to ruin her. I'll be honest.
But it honestly, it sounded like you were just like, oh, we're gonna screw this up.
Yeah.
Like, just wait. But he was prodding. He was hitting her with that saber, you know,
Oh,
just right
yeah.
in the ribs.
Yeah.
And so it kind of slowly you see it start happening, and you're just like, he stands up. You can just see it. No,
Like, no way.
no. And Jess is going crazy, and then of course you know what happened. They missed the punt, missed the catch, or did they block it?
He
right?
got blocked, yeah. And
I think he missed it first or
Missed it,
something,
stumbled.
and then he tried to kick it, and they end up recovering it, and Michigan State won, and just the look of horror on
Oh
Darren's
my
face.
God.
You just
and
called
just
a
like,
play that like there was no way it was going to
no
happen.
chance.
And then
in,
we all watched it unfold, and like the room was like captivated and terrified, but everyone was screaming because you're like, this is not happening. He just predicted what happened and his team lost.
Yeah, believe me.
Oh, man.
Should have
because
seen
that
the
was like one of the first years Michigan. It was when Harbaugh came back, and it was like they were relevant again, and it was just kind of like.
I remember going home and just like looking at the bathroom tub and thinking I could just end this. I could.
Do you have one of those house divided license plates?
Yeah. Like
I hate those things.
I could just put myself out of this misery because like one thing about Jess, I love her so much, but like when something like that happens, and she gets a chance to rub it like in my face, she will go on and on until I have to like just.
Does she still bring it up?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the thing that kills me is that she's the worst kind of fan. She doesn't know anything about the team that she roots for.
I hate that.
Can't name one player. But when the team comes on TV, she's the biggest fan in the world, and the other team sucks.
You should be other than like a new season. Like I understand if a new season and like it takes you a game or two to kind of learn some of the new players in college football. If it takes you a few to like learn the new players' names, like I understand that. But if you after like middle of the season have no idea anybody's name, you're not a fan. Like you can't wear your Roll Tide shirt or your whatever.
You can't
your Tennessee.
support your alma mater even if like you're.
You know any one players on.
Well, hold on a second.
Okay, hold on.
You just said you like
Back up.
Notre Dame because.
Let me speak first. Alma mater, I get.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can support your alma mater.
That's fine.
That was.
Okay,
that's fine.
That's fair.
But people that have absolutely no tie to, or like even I guess if it's in state and you live in Tennessee and you love Tennessee Vols, whatever, like I can understand that. But you have like people that live in Tennessee and have no connection to Alabama, and they like them just because they're good right now, and you have no idea any of the players or maybe even the head coach.
It's just annoying.
Wait, why does she fall in that category?
Because she went to Central, which is not even. I mean, it's Central Michigan. It's not Michigan State. I mean, they're not really like a rivalry, but they are. It's
an in-state thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's an in-state one, and again, just like what Rich was saying, she doesn't have a tie to it. I mean, yeah, like she had some aunts and uncles that went to Michigan State and stuff, but come on, you live in Michigan.
Bitterness
I was gonna say
bitterness, some unforgiveness.
There's some layers
I hate them.
Yeah,
I hate him.
It's just so upsetting. Like.
This is not Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
All right?
I know, but
I can't. I don't want to get off on Dr. Phil. My wife watches Dr. Phil, and I can't.
Is he
stand
still
it.
on?
I don't think he's. Is he still on?
Is he?
Oh yeah, it's
Really?
still on. When I go by the house, I cannot. I'm like, turn this off right now. I cannot. I just. No,
It's
Dr. Phil.
just like that college football comes around once a year. I mean, rolls around, everybody's so excited, you get so pumped, and then the games that matter, the games that you just want to win so bad or just see the win, and it happens.
lose.
You're like, there goes the year.
Last weekend, we lost to Georgia at 1 point.
Yeah. I mean, but seriously, and then you look at that and you're like, I got to wait a whole nother year now.
Whole another year. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
It happens with everybody. Everybody's like, maybe next year, but it just sucks. When it's your wife, it sucks.
It's so different for me now because I've been around college football for a long time.
Yeah.
And worked in that environment.
Go into that a little bit.
Had the opportunity for a bunch of years to be a player development coach for a couple of universities, but for me, it's so hard to be a fan because I see the inner workings of the football.
Right.
I wonder what's going on in their minds. I wonder, what the coaches are thinking and how and why. And, when you've kind of been behind some of that, it's hard for me to be a fan. So I really struggle to get super excited about some of that because I end up going someplace in my mind where I don't want to go.
Right.
Like CrossFit is actually one of the first places for me where I got to be a big time fan.
Really?
When I first showed up here and I had no idea about CrossFit Mayhem and all of that when I came here to town. I'm like, I didn't really know who you were or anything about that. I just needed a place to work out.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get to be the fan on the other side of it and wear the clothes and have the jersey and do that whole thing.
What's cool, too, is, like the whole fan thing side of it is usually, I mean, the general public that watch CrossFit and, watch game stuff, they participate in CrossFit. They do some local competition stuff, so it's like they can relate to, what that athlete's going through. People say thrusters and everybody starts sweating or wall balls. People's knees are aching. And, I mean, I think that's a really cool thing about it, especially, in our gym, because people come up to me, they're like, man, during the games when you were, you guys were running or, you guys were picking up that worm and stuff, the stuff that they've done in the gym, they're like, I was just hurting for you, because I could feel it. And it is
super unique because
cool.
you can totally relate.
Yeah,
you can
you can't
look
go
at somebody
play
and go, wow.
Tom Brady playing football. You can go out and play flag football, but it's nothing like getting on the field.
Right.
Where in CrossFit, you can, especially during the open, you can kind of, really go against people.
And it's the open is really funny because, everybody the people that have never done it before that are completely naive, they sign up for it, like, oh yeah, it's like a regular workout. And all of a sudden you see them out there.
Dead.
And then, especially for us coaches who get to say that 3, 2, 1, go, you see their faces, they start, and they're like, why is my heart rate up? Oh my gosh, why am I freaking out? This never happened. I work out every day. And by the end of it, they're on the ground, they're dying. They're like, what is this feeling?
I think for a lot of people who don't who don't really know CrossFit and they're looking at from the outside, they just see the games.
Yeah.
And what they don't understand
the day-to-day.
is it's so scalable
Yep.
and that anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really the truth.
Yep.
All the way to, somebody who's just getting up and moving and and you can find your space in that and it can be a part of who you are, and all the way to the sport side of it, which is the games.
Yeah, it's top tier, and then you start looking at, well, I can't do that. I'll get hurt and stuff like that. You're like, when you start competing in anything, that's when you get hurt. That's when injuries happen. But in here, we rarely see, you get little aches and pains and stuff like that, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, and it's, you got the athletes from 5 years old all the way up till 90,
How old is Hollings?
Hollings is 76, I believe.
That's awesome.
And
he comes in, 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Darren has to tell him to scale it because he doesn't listen.
The guy, the guy's nuts, because if you don't, he's that guy that is going to,
That's awesome.
try and deadlift 400 pounds. He probably could. He's this crazy Irishman that just comes running around. But it's amazing to see people that think that I wouldn't say have nothing left as far as competitively, that just think, I got to go home and, this is my life, and see that opportunity given back to them.
Yeah.
They take full advantage, and, he loves it, which is really cool. It's so fun. It's just so inspirational.
When I started, I'm, that late 40s guy and still want to compete a little bit, and kind of got out of my lane a little bit, and you start trying to go too hard before you've actually learned the skills and you're trying to kind of dial it up. One of the first things he ever said to me, and I come from that football background where everything's super explosive, right? Yeah. The play lasts for 15 seconds and then you breathe.
Rest,
and he was just like, hey man, I'm going to need you just to relax and breathe. That was like the second, because I'm just, I'm going to die. I'm just amped up out of my brain.
That taste, man. You got a taste of that blood. I'm just going crazy.
And it's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
You got to relax. You got to slow down. You got to keep your blood pressure down. You got to understand that we're going to work overtime here. And
you made a really interesting point that we were kind of talking about the mentality of it a little bit yesterday, and I thought you had something really interesting to say about being a masters athlete and you're a competitive person. That's inherent.
Right.
So if you're one of those people and you walk in a gym, like you were just explaining the differences in mentalities and harnessing that. You remember what you were talking about yesterday?
Yeah. We were talking about when I came to the gym for the first time when you guys were all training. And
just knowing how hard to push yourself and when to pull the reins back and not walking in the gym and trying to do what Rich is doing per se. You want to compete in this sport. You're a master's athlete, but knowing when and where to push that limit, to how to make that progress,
It has to be super cerebral, especially when you're learning those skills, because the gymnastic stuff and all that, when you don't have a background in any of that, it's just like anything else. You got to go slow and develop those skills and be careful and stay in your lane. And when it's like, I'm 49 now, and in my mind, I can still do the things I could do when I was 25, but that's not what my ligaments. That's not what your ligaments are telling you. There's a whole lot of being grounded and growing,
being smart.
And then it's a little bit different when you get around you guys and you're going as fast as you're going, and you really wanna. It's almost your nature to try to dial it up a little bit, and you've got to consciously stop and slow down.
Well, and that's the difference between an athlete and somebody that's never had that. Somebody that's never competed. I'm not gonna say that maybe kind of towards that soccer mom style. They work, and have never been in that kind of program, and you put them in it. I think they're the most fun people to train, because they're the ones that never touched the barbell in their life. You give it to them, they're terrified, they're scared, but all of a sudden, give them a week or two, you show them stuff, and it's a whole new world. And to me, they turn into the most competitive people.
Right.
I shouldn't say I don't hate training athletes, but the frustrating part about it is you get that person that walks in that,
thinks they know everything.
Player, exactly, or something like that. Just typical athlete. They think they know, or like that they've done it all, and they get frustrated. Everything they do, they want to learn it now. You show, they see a muscle up, they're like, I want to do that now. You're like, it takes time. It's a process, and they're throwing things around over their head, trying. And
is it hard to identify, Darren? You see so many different athletes come through the doors. You see such a spectrum. Is it hard identifying how you should coach each one? Do you have a different approach? So many people walk through your doors. How do you know what somebody needs?
The hardest part for me is looks are so deceiving. And I learned that so fast when Rich gave me the opportunity to coach and stuff, even as well, that, I mean, working out with Rich was easy. It was, it was just God-given, and then you go to these other people, like I said, that never touched anything, and it's a, completely different base. I mean, I still train them like I'm, working out with Rich and stuff, but the way you approach them, the way you're kind of wording things, you got to keep on them, keep them motivated, because everybody's different. That's one thing that was really hard for me to learn, was everybody's different. The way they learn, the way they pick up, the way they move, their anatomical build, and stuff is just so different.
I will say that that's one of the best things that Darren does. I think Darren can figure out how to coach different people and how to motivate different people. Like, you look in here and you just watch him, and he can literally like flip a switch and figure out how he needs to motivate Hollings, who's 76, versus one of the guys or girls that goes to Tennessee Tech. Like, he that's one of the best things I think you do is identifying the different personalities, how to push them, and how to continue to motivate them. So I think that's one of the good things.
Having been around a lot of coaches in my career, it's just kind of part of his makeup.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, he's a people person.
And it's his talent. He can see that. He knows how to say it, what to say, how to slow you down, how to motivate you.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it was just, I mean, like you said, like makeup, but then, like upbringing as well. We're very blessed to have a big family and stuff. So, for as like competitive as we are, and, our parents are very hard workers. I mean, always working, always doing something. And I think that's something that was, kind of bestilled in us was, you got to work for it. Things in life are not given to you. Not everything is the way you want it to be sometimes, so like all that stuff. Yeah, it definitely helped. And a lot of it's, you learn as you go. And like I said about being on this team, which is what I love, is we can learn like as we go. We don't dwell on areas that we're stuck in and hold on to them. We can adapt to basically survive.
It's been crazy. Coming here was really exciting for me because I'm always talking about sports psychology and the values base, competing from that. And so coming here and watching you guys actually live that, like we really are. It's really sound. Who you are and what you're doing is actually really happening. Right. There are really good sports psychology kinds of principles in action. Right. You're really kind of doing all that, and it's coming from this place of really who you are, and it's super authentic. And I think sometimes that's hard for people on the outside to really understand that really is happening.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a show, and it's
and that's and I think that is really cool, that if you do believe what you are telling people, like you firmly believe, and you can show them that it works. You're not just spoon feeding them bullshit. I mean, you're actually, I mean, like everything that you're giving. Yeah, sorry, I did that. BS. But I mean, just making sure that what you're telling people is, is real, and like people
practice what you preach.
Exactly, people can sense that. I mean, they can tell, that if you're just, blowing smoke up their butt. Stuff.
Well, for me, because that's professionally what I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm trying to talk to people
go into
about
that a little bit. Like, tell kind of people what you're.
You know what?
We're rebranding it right now. Not really rebranding it, but we're trying to figure out
this idea of competing from core values.
Competing and living.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing both of those things. Connecting, not just emotion, but, when I came here, I was excited to hear you guys talk about how important family was, and then to see you actually live it out.
Right.
And how important your faith was, and actually live it out. How important your state was, and actually live it out. Actually see all that stuff, because in so many places in life, we hear people talk about that, but it's not really something that's authentic.
Right.
So for me, that was my job is to help somebody define themselves. Who are you? What do you believe? Where are you going?
Yep.
And then put it in language so that you can actually articulate that to me.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, then you're really just living from emotion.
Yeah, and that's, kind of talking about what Jim does. I'm going through. I'm not quite finished with the program yet, but having that filter and looking through those core values, I think that's been a huge just eye opener. I have those values, but be able to put them into words and figure out exactly what those are. We've been trying to figure out. I think we've got a couple narrowed down. I think competition is in there. Like that's just within me, and the loyalty is a big one. But to be able to look at things and is that who I am, and make those decisions off. That's been pretty cool. And so
you've been living that way in general terms, that's how you live. That's
right.
It's really who you are. I call it who you be.
Right.
You know, your values, your talents, and your purpose. But then being able to put it into language
has been the hard part for me. Yeah.
And when you haven't done that, it's hard for everybody. You got to stop. You got to think about it. You got to figure out what those words are.
Yep.
Our thoughts are mediated through language. You know, I'm always saying you can't be 100% of who you were created to be unless you can say it.
Right.
So you know, if we were to, take you out in the middle of the gym and put you up on a box out there and turn off all the music and you had to define yourself. Who are you? What do you believe? Where are you going? What's your purpose? I'm always trying to encourage somebody to get to that place where if everything you believed in was taken from you and you were, the spotlight was
that's all you have
was pointed at you. Who are you?
Yeah.
And I
Unmasked.
think there's so many people that admire you guys for that piece in your life, and for me to show up here and see that was actually authentic. Well, I mean, after I quit at the local university, I decided I want to stay around because this is authentic. These are people who are actually walking that.
right.
And I want to be around that kind of a person, and I want to be able to talk and communicate with those kind of people. So
We're glad you stuck around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love being here.
Cool. Where are we at? About an hour. Cool. All right. Well, that's episode 1 of Froning and Friends.
Well,
So,
Hooray.
Darren, you want to go around? Let's do this.
Sign off.
No.
Oh.
Sponsors, anybody you want to plug here at the end? We'll do that.
Oh, okay. So
Your personal website.
so wait, so can I just name off like whoever I want?
Within reason. Yeah.
CrossFit Mayhem.
Oh, nice. Good one. But, I mean, you have other sponsors. Who are your other
I
sponsors?
know. Mission 6, Formula O2, Bear Complex, and Paleo Works.
I have to make sure you write all those
Paleo
down.
Works Nashville.
Got anything you want to plug?
you know what?
And sorry, my wife Jessica.
I just want to say hi, Mom.
Oh, yeah, we should say, you think Violet and your dad will listen to this?
Aw.
I hope so.
Yeah. Ellie?
Just Paleo Works and Bear Complex.
Bear Complex.
Bear
Complex. Rogue, Reebok, Advocare, Reband, Bear Complex now, the R-Star. We got to take some pictures of those, Dre, actually. We got to put the R-Star. Bear Complex scripts out. What else do I have?
love it like when you
CrossFit
say it, you
Mayhem.
always have to make the gesture.
Gotta make because it's Sarge. The Sarge pictures are so good. Realtree. Realtree's another one. It's almost fall turkey season and deer season, I guess, too.
Time to gobble.
Did I leave anything out? Anything else?
And Dan Bailey.
And
Dan Bailey.
Dan Bailey.
today's episode's brought to you by the letter Dan Bailey. So cool. Episode 2. I don't know. We'll come up with it. Probably what? We're gonna do one a week, Dre? What are we talking about? One a week. All right. Do we have to? We don't plug where. I don't know.
I think that's probably it.
Yeah, I got at Rich Froning on Instagram, at Elly Kabboord, at Jim_Hensel.
Jimmy _Hensel.
James Dean.
James Dean.
Oh, I need to change
I
it to
know.
that.
At Darren Hunsucker.
There's no. Jess has the number after hers, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have.
Don't worry about her.
We have at what's Rich doing, where you'll probably find updates on this. I think that's where we're gonna put everything. At CrossFit Mayhem. What else, Dre? We got
At
anything?
CrossFit Mayhem Freedom.
Dre, you got anything you want to plug?
At Matt
No?
Hewitt. At
Matt.
Lindy Barber.
At
At Kristen Reffett.
not anymore.
Oh.
Raffet's gone. We need to take her off the team text.
So sad.
We miss you, Ref.
We miss you,
Miss
Raff.
you.
I don't know why
Ref.
I'm looking at the camera saying that, but
Cool. All right. I did give Judah and the Lion plug on the intro song, right?
do it
Oh.
again.
Judah and the Lion, thank you for letting us use their song. Sweet Tennessee. Check out their album. They got a bunch of good stuff. They're on iTunes, anything like that. Thanks, Juice.